Hey, what's up, guys? Ron Harris here on a channel called Ron Harris Muscle, where we typically stick to bodybuilding related subjects, but we all have an opinion on what's going on here with the Olympics and the women's boxing controversy that erupted over the past couple days. So, as we know, what happened was a boxer named Imane Khelif of Algeria. She won a match over Italy's Angela Carini in just 46 seconds. After Angela basically gave up, she quit after being hit a couple times so hard that her headgear was knocked off, and then she was injured in the nose. She probably felt strongly that she would have been severely injured had she continued on with the match. And the main controversy seems to be that Imane, who is biologically, she was born a female. She is not transgender. There are no transgender athletes competing in this Olympics. So that has been erroneously posted by many, many people, especially on Facebook. People assuming this is a transgender male to female. It is. She is not. Imane, I don't know how it's pronounced, was born a female. She does have a genetic disorder, DSD. I can't recall what that's short for, which causes her to have much, much higher testosterone levels than a woman would normally have. She also has both X and Y chromosomes. Typically, women are XX, men are XY. I am not a DNA expert or someone who could speak with any authority on that subject. But the point of the matter is, she does have much greater strength, especially in punching, than a typical female would be. In fact, Angela, who gave up and sat on the floor of the ring crying, said she had never been punched that hard in her life, and she's been boxing only women. So that tells you that Imane has a tremendous advantage. Now, I've seen people arguing for Imane all over social media as well. It's not all one-sided. And people say, biologically, she is a female. She's got a vagina. She doesn't have a penis, never had one. She just happens to have this genetic advantage over other women boxers. But even so, apparently her record as an amateur is only like 9-5. She's not that great. She must have just been the best that Algeria could come up with for a female competitor. Still, the fact that she has greater punching power, I compare. I try to come up with some analogies, and I know they're ridiculous, but say that there was a man who was 12 feet tall. Obviously, that's never happened. Closest we ever come was the late Robert Wadlow, or about almost 100 years ago, was 8'11" 3/4. He was not athletic in the least. He was on crutches, and he died at 23 or 24 years old. But anyway, let's say somehow there was a 12-foot tall man, and he had athletic ability to the point where he could play basketball. Not to say he was like some spectacular athlete, but that size and strength would give him such an advantage over typical professional basketball players who are all between 6 and 7 feet. There's a handful that are over 7 foot, but the vast majority of them are between 6'3" and 6'10". That's most NBA players. He would have such tremendous advantage in height and in power. It'd be impossible to guard the guy. He would just walk up and down the court. Well, hopefully he could run, just dunking the ball over and over again, and it wouldn't be fair. I mean, I don't think that would be allowed. In fact, I watched a really cool series. I think it was on Max. Was it on Max or Prime? It was called I'm a Virgo, about this young guy out in Oakland, California, a young African-American kid who was 10 feet tall. And part of that, they did allude to the fact that the NBA had already preemptively banned him from becoming from playing for the NBA. So Imane, not a transgender person. She is not trans. She was born a female, but she does have this disorder that gives her the same advantage that probably a transgender athlete would have. And let's be real, her test levels were determined to be so high, she was disqualified from the Women's World Championships last year. So she's naturally on testosterone, on steroids, you could say. She's naturally doped. It's not that she's taking steroids or injecting extra testosterone. She has a genetic disorder that produces far more testosterone to the point where it would be equivalent to another woman on steroids, which is not allowed. They don't allow steroids in the Olympics, obviously. So let's hear what you guys have to say. This is embarrassing for Olympics. It's clearly a man. The name Imane. Yeah, I mean, she's very masculine looking for sure. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is it Stephanie Grenier, the WNBA player who was jailed in Russia for how long? Was she there for like 9 months, 10 months? She, I believe, suffers from the same disorder where she looks like a man, sounds like a man. I believe she has a very, very high. I don't know if it's ever been made public if she's ever had her testosterone levels tested to see where they're at. But I wouldn't be surprised if she was also very, very high testosterone for a female, like well above what a female would ever naturally produce. So, yet they allow her in the WNBA. So people would say, well, if she's allowed to play basketball with that disorder, why? I'd say the difference is basketball, sure, she has an advantage, but she's not going to hurt. She's not really going to hurt anybody. This is a combat sport. Boxing is a combat sport where they're punching each other in the head repeatedly. Yes, they have headgear. That headgear is not covering the face. You could easily break someone's nose, break their jaw. With the right blows, you could kill somebody. People have died in the ring. I remember there was it wasn't the UFC. It was an amateur MMA match back in 2014. A woman, I think her last name was Fallon, was transgender. Now this is just, I know this woman Imane is not transgender, but she was banned from fighting women after one match because she gave the other woman, she punched her so hard in the head, she gave her a concussion and fractured the orbital bone behind the eye, that part of the skull. That's how hard she was punching. This woman, Imane, is similarly powerful compared to other women. Sean Turner says, clearly a man, weak men in power allow things of this nature to take place. Men do better. Yeah, I mean, conspiracy theories are running rampant. If you're on Facebook, that's like ground zero for conspiracy theories. One thing that came up, I know there's another female boxer from China that also was allowed to compete, even though she had been disqualified from world championships for a very similar situation, very high testosterone levels. So Imane is Algerian. Algeria was a French colony for many years, and there is a very large immigrant population of Algerians living in France, particularly in Paris, the capital city and the biggest city. And there was speculation that if she was banned from the Olympics, there would be some sort of retaliation on the part of these angry Algerian immigrants in France, be it through rioting or, God forbid, some terrorist act or something. Again, that's just idle speculation, conspiracy theory. Look at the jawline and chin. Yeah, I mean, biologically, that is for sure looks like a man. Some people were even saying you could almost see 5 o'clock shadow. I don't know if that's true. Actually, I want to go to some of my YouTube, some of the videos I was looking at on YouTube. I think I can get away with. No one can show the actual Olympic footage because that is NBC owns that. NBC owns that footage. But I wonder if I can do this without the volume being on. Woke Olympics blasted. This is wicked. Times of India. There was one that actually had the footage. I think I can get away with showing it without getting a copyright strike. Let's see if I can. Let's see if I can get the volume. Oh, okay, the volume's off. So this could work. Let's see if it works, guys. Skip. Okay, so I'm going to see if this works. Let me hide the other footage first. Now we're back to me. All right, so let's see if this works, guys, because I like to see some actual moving footage rather than all of these still photos. That's showing up, yeah. So the fight was very brief. It was only a couple punches were exchanged. There you go. I mean, she rocked her head back. I don't know if that's the same punch from a different angle. I think it is. So this guy was very upset, Sean Turner. Oh, no, Sean Turner, you're on my channel. Sorry. This is the Officer Tatum's channel. He's going off about it. He's got over 1.5 million views on his take. Keep playing that. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, everyone's got an opinion. I saw some actual, I was actually going back and forth and with the guy Bryce Pacheco on bodybuilder Kevin Jordan, who's a pro, on his Facebook page. He doesn't see a problem with it. A lot of people don't see a problem with it. If biologically she has a female reproductive organ, she's got a vagina, she was born a female. This is just another genetic advantage. Like, you know, some people are taller than others, or you could say that structurally, who's that great swimmer guy? The best swimmer guy? Phelps, Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps has a tremendous genetic advantage over other swimmers because he's built like a seal. He's got crazy wide shoulders and back, super long arms, and short legs, like almost like flippers on a seal. So he has an advantage bone structurally over, and he's tall. He's like 6'6" or something. That propels him through the water much, much faster than, you know, a person with normal bone structure or a regular average bone structure. So you could say that's an unfair advantage. Why should he be allowed to be competing against other people that don't have that? I mean, it's a slippery slope. You could argue both ways. But let's see what Sean also says. Jawline and chin. It's a her. It's a she. Allows him to take blows rather easily, not to mention his neck size. Very dangerous for the real woman. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Wiki states it's a woman. Well, Wikipedia is never wrong. Wikipedia is wrong all the time. Yeah, I mean, it's a passport. That's what the Olympic Committee, in their defense of this situation, they said passport says female. This is a female. You know, again, never had a penis, born with a vagina. It's a very masculine woman. It's a woman with abnormally high testosterone levels. I don't know if this has been verified. I heard this genetic condition also means there's undescended testes inside the body. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm throwing it out there, but I don't know if that's true. Has a lot of testosterone. Yeah. So again, this is like a woman on steroids, but you give her a steroid test. She does, when we test for steroids in these Olympic events, it's the testosterone to DHT. I think it's a test to the DHT ratio that they test for. And they're looking at test levels. And if they're abnormally high, you fail the test. So, you know, even though testosterone is something that's naturally found in the body, you're not testing negative for a foreign substance. So like the difference between whatever steroid you take, whether you're taking testosterone or Winstrol or Equipoise or Nandrolone, these are all steroids that, you know, they would show up differently on a test. However, even if you took just testosterone, okay, that's enough of him. Even if you took just testosterone at the Olympic level, they are testing to see what your testosterone levels are. So if you have very high testosterone levels, higher than what could naturally occur in the human body, you're disqualified. You fail, and you're not allowed to compete. So, you know, I don't know that there's a simple solution for this. Everyone just says ban her, don't let her compete. But you can't. It's not that simple. You'd have to. There could be a court case involved. You'd sue the Olympic Committee for sure, because how do you determine that? That would be like a whole. It wouldn't go to the Supreme Court. That's the USA, but that would be a whole can of worms. How do you determine, you know, without getting into politics, the gender of a person? And I'm not talking about transgender. That's a whole other. They've already determined that transgender athletes, they're not going to allow them to compete in the Olympics. But even in this case, where we do have a biological woman that has this tremendous advantage over other women in a combat sport where life is at stake, and certainly forget about dying, but people have died in boxing. It's not uncommon at all. I don't know how many people have died in the boxing ring, but it's not just like a couple. There've been dozens over the years, because you hit somebody just the right way in the head, they're dead. That's why I said I read before that in the movies when they show people being knocked out and they just, someone whacks them on the head to knock them out, and they always get up and they're always fine. Maybe they have a bump or they have a headache. Or in reality, if you hit someone in the head hard enough to knock them out, to lose consciousness, you could kill them. If you hit them in just the right or wrong, however you want to look at it, spot, you kill them. So where was I going with that? He could compete with the men. Well, Imane, who was a female, she would get destroyed by a man, even in the same weight class. I have no doubt in my mind that a male boxer of the same weight would probably decimate her in the ring. So I don't know how many of you guys follow tennis. I don't, but there was a story from years ago where Venus and Serena Williams, who were both world champion, the greatest female tennis players of our generation, these sisters, they were challenged to a match with a guy who was ranked 200th in men's pro tennis. So he wasn't one of the best tennis players. He wasn't one of the worst. He was a pro, but he was ranked number 200 in the world. He was way down nowhere near one of the, nobody would know the guy's name. So to prove a point that even the greatest women tennis players in the world were no match for a guy at his level who was a very, very mediocre pro tennis player, if you're looking at being ranked 200th in the world, he took them on. He played them both in the same day. And this was after playing a round of golf where he was drinking beer while playing golf earlier in the day. Then later on in the day, he had matches against Venus and Serena and beat them both. And they complained. I don't know what their complaint was. And he says, well, if I'm ranked too high, I'll lose a couple matches or something. Give me a couple weeks and I'll get ranked like 300th in the world and we can do this again. And they never took him up on the offer. But yeah, obviously there are sports, a lot of sports where men just have a huge advantage. And let's face it, testosterone can give women similar level of advantage because steroids, like, let's throw our own sport under the bus. Female bodybuilders who use steroids are able to build far more muscle mass. Forget about in every division. The steroid use starts even at bikini, but once you get into figure, you start seeing more. You start noticing it more. These cap delts, the flared quads, physique, women's physique. You definitely see it. You definitely see the extra muscle mass. That the difference between a natural woman not on any PEDs and a woman who's on whatever, Anavar, Primobolan, Tren, Deca, all that good stuff. They're able to build a lot more muscle mass. It gives them a massive advantage over other women who are not chemically enhanced, who aren't putting these hormones in their bodies. Did I see the interview with Clarissa Shields? Yes. Yeah, in fact, let me go to that because I watched it earlier. It should be in my history. So she, which one was that? Woke Olympics, blasted by J.K. Rowling. It was Carini, personal. I think it was on this. I don't know. I hope I don't get this shut down, but yeah. Was this the one? I'm trying to make sure I have the right one before I put it up, guys. So this was the greatest female boxer in the world. She'd won. Okay, that's not the one. She had won 2 gold medals. I'm just gonna put this guy's video up with that because it's got more pictures, more footage. Yeah. So she had said. Clarissa had said that she was used to being hit by men because she had sparred with men, but a lot of female boxers had never done that. And so for them to get hit by a man or someone with the punching power of a man was just devastating. I think that's what happened to Angela. She'd never been hit that hard in her life. Maybe if she had sparred guys, maybe they weren't trying to really hit her with 100% force. Imane was not holding back. She's trying to win a gold medal. She did win a gold medal, right? So she's not worried about hurting anybody. And she went ahead and hauled off and hit her so hard the headgear came off. And then the second time she hit her, she drew blood with a punch to the nose. Do I think it's steroids? Well, Melinda, she's naturally on steroids. That's the thing. She's not taking anything exogenous. She's not injecting steroid oil. She's not taking pills. Her body, she has this rare genetic condition, disorder, whatever you want to call it, that gives her a much, much higher testosterone level than any woman could ever possibly have. I don't know what the levels were. to the point where at the World Championships last year, which is not run by the IOC, the Olympics, totally different. I think they're based out of Russia, this amateur organization. So they banned her. They banned her, and they banned this other boxer from China, who's fighting in this Olympics as well. Because of that testosterone level, they determined that biologically these were males, and they're basing that on the test levels. The International Olympic Committee, the IOC, they held a press conference saying, we can't just base gender on hormone, testosterone levels, and it's a disorder. The disorder is being born a man. Well, she wasn't born a man. That's the thing. She was born a woman, but again, it's like some men have abnormally high estrogen levels and very, very low testosterone levels. They're very feminine. Some of them end up going and transitioning. Some of them just become transvestites or whatever. I'm not getting into all that because I'm not the authority on that. But we weren't all born with normal average levels. That's why there's average, and then there's high and there's low. There's above average, there's below average. So some men have normal testosterone levels. Actually, most men have normal. That's why it's called average. Some men have much more testosterone than others. Some men have much less. And the same goes for women. But I think on their spectrum, on their bell curve, it's very rare that a woman has high testosterone naturally. It's not a common thing. I would suspect that a lot of high-level female athletes do have more higher natural testosterone than their counterparts in the average woman. So sports where strength especially would come into play, maybe like powerlifting, CrossFit. Some of these CrossFit women that you'll see, they're pretty bulky. Some of them are very masculine looking. I think a lot of the women that get into women's physique and women's bodybuilding, they probably already started off with a little higher testosterone than the average woman, gave them an advantage, and they were able to build more muscle. And then once they put more in with injecting steroids and other things, then they really blew the hell up. Fallon Fox, yeah, that's a good one. Woke Olympics blasted. Let's see what else was there. I'm going to get out of that. Stop screen. I'm going to go back to my still pictures. Yeah, I'm just going to keep looping that. So, Esmachi says, I've always wondered about this. There are women that naturally produce a high level of testosterone. I think that's an appropriate response. Yeah, it's rare. And, that's where this becomes something to debate. It's not cut and dry. We tell this woman, you can't compete. You're not allowed to compete against other women because your testosterone is too high, when it's natural. It's her own body doing this. It's not from using banned substances. She's not injecting steroids or anything like that. She does have this major advantage, but it's natural, God-given, if you believe in God. It's naturally occurring. She didn't do anything. Her coaches, no one made her this way. This is the way she was made. So, she has a tremendous natural advantage, but it is a natural advantage. So do we tell her you can't compete? I mean, obviously, I would say yes, only because this is a combat sport. It's a sport where people can get very seriously hurt. You get punched in the head enough times, hard enough, you could die. You could have brain damage. Concussions are very common in boxing. That's something could very easily happen. And again, I think if Angela had continued the fight for much longer, if she hadn't been knocked out, she could have been seriously hurt. Maybe she would have been seriously hurt. So some people are saying she's a big crybaby for quitting. Other people see her as a hero, but some people are saying, what a baby. She didn't even, she quit. She literally quit the fight, saying this is unjust in Italian. But, she could have been very, very, very seriously hurt, to maybe even killed. She looks like Fallon Fox was that MMA fighter who was transgender, who gave her opponent, this is 10 years ago, a concussion. I wonder if there's a video of Fallon Fox fight. I'm going to see if I can find that. I don't know if there was, because that was like an amateur. It was an amateur event. It wasn't UFC. Fallon. Was this the one? Well, that's 9 years ago. Oh, that was her getting beat. That was her getting beat. Okay, I'm going to put it on. Yeah, what the heck? Oh, what happened there? All right, I'm going to put it on, guys. So, stop that. Stop that one. I'm going to show you Fallon Fox. This is a transgender MMA fighter that was, they never let her in the UFC. She was never part of the UFC. All right, so this was on TMZ. She was fighting women, even though she was born a man, transitioned to a woman. Which one's Fallon? Is Fallon the one? I mean, look at that, Bill. I don't even know which one's Fallon. when I see somebody go down and get knocked out, I guess that was her. Okay, so she's the lighter skinned person out of these two because they're both wearing black. So that was Fallon Fox, transgender MMA fighter. And yeah, I believe she was banned shortly after this, wasn't allowed to fight women anymore. Certainly was never allowed into the UFC, that's what they all aspire to. That's the big leagues for MMA. Yeah. So that was Fallon Fox. Interesting stuff. S. McGee, to ban women with high testosterone is kind of bogus. It's like being short but not getting the benefits of being short. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know what the Olympic Committee could do. They could ban her, but again, there's going to be outrage. There's outrage over everything, right? Somebody's going to get outraged and upset no matter what's done in this world now. It's just we become a culture of people being offended and upset. But again, I'm trying to argue both sides. I don't want to see women who have this tremendous advantage in power, punching power, be allowed to box, because boxing is a sport where it's getting hit. Women are getting hit. And if they're getting hit by someone that's much, much stronger than the average woman that they've been facing, and they're all elite boxers. They got to the Olympics. They've got to be pretty damn good to get to the Olympics in the first place. So if this woman, Angela, was just stunned and shocked at how powerful those punches were, it's testimony to the fact that Imane, I wish I knew how to pronounce it. She does have this advantage over all the other female boxers, women boxers. And is it right or is it wrong? Is it right to ban her? Is it wrong to let her fight? Not buying it at all. S. McGee, some people have both XY chromosomes, so they're born both a male and female. Yeah, I mean, now you're talking about what is it? There are hermaphrodites. There are people who have both male and female genitalia. It's a rare thing, but it goes back. People have been reporting on it for thousands of years. It's not mythological. It's a real thing. This is something different than that, as far as we know. Imane, I haven't heard about any pelvic exams, but born a female biologically, has a vagina, does have a very masculine appearance. But, there are a lot of men that look very, very feminine in the face and in the body. We've seen it. And there are a lot of women. I shouldn't say a lot. We're talking about outliers, people who aren't average. So there are women who have more of a masculine facial structure with the big jawline and everything, and the bone structure with the wider shoulders and the more narrow hips that typically a man would have. And we've also seen men with more feminine facial features and bone structure, narrow shoulders and wider hips like a woman. It happens. There's a lot of genetic variance among the human race. This is a guy fighting girls. That's not cool. Michelle Bright's compete. It's female. Yeah, I mean, that's what we're trying to figure out. Is Imane a male or a female? I mean, if you're just going to go by the private parts, by the genitalia, Imane has a vagina. So, okay, there you go. That's a woman, right? Doesn't have a penis. But if you're going if you're going to determine gender by hormone levels, it's this whole thing. Gender has become such a fluid thing and such an object of debate and discussion over the past 20, 30 years. It's become very, very complicated. We used to just say you're born a man or a woman, and that's that. And that's the old school. That's the old school way of looking at it. And clearly things have changed quite a bit since then. Bruce Gass, boxing, jazz, more. Okay. somebody who actually knows a little bit about boxing. Males can develop different muscles in women, larger necks, legs, and strength through the roof. Yeah. And, looking at Imane, I'll go back to that. She's not massive. She's not built like Mike Tyson. She does have a little wider clavicles, but that's not a man. I wouldn't look at that. If I saw her, especially because I've been around women on steroids for many years. She's not massive. She doesn't have real thick, she's got a big neck, but that's not impossible to achieve for a woman. Shoulders. She doesn't look like juiced up because, I've seen women who are fully androgenized from years and years of heavy steroid use. Imane doesn't have that look about her. She doesn't have that much muscle mass. And, facially, yeah, the short hair doesn't help with, we're getting really, really petty here, but the short hair doesn't help her appearance, but it's not a beauty contest. It's a boxing contest, right? So your facial beauty and your hairstyle really shouldn't matter. But yeah, you can see that the facial structure on Imane does look fairly masculine. But again, there are women out there with fairly masculine facial features, just like there are men with more feminine facial features. It's not unheard of. He, she, XY, or XX. People are even debating that. I thought that was an open and shut case, right? XX is a female, XY is a man. Some people are debating that, saying, nope. I mean, I guess I'm trying to think of things to compare this to. Natural bodybuilding. What's a natural bodybuilder? If you use steroids ever, can you ever say you're a natural bodybuilder again? If you use things like creatine, pre-workout, how about if you use like peptides? People argue all day and for years and years, what constitutes natural versus unnatural bodybuilding? Can you call yourself natural under these circumstances? What defines natural? This is much more nuanced. This is now we're getting into science and medicine here with this, which I'm not qualified to speak upon. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. We would need a real expert. And I think the experts are going to be called to weigh in quite a bit on this. They probably already are. If you're watching like CNN, Fox News, and things like that, maybe ESPN, I would venture to say that they're already hauling out some experts to try to give their opinions on whether Imane is a male or a female and whether Imane should or should not be allowed to fight other women in boxing. Even on heavy steroid use, Sean says, they still don't have the bone density of a young boy a few years out of puberty. Yeah, and I mean, men have a tremendous advantage in the upper body strength over women. I know I've seen stats. I don't have them in front of me, but the lower body strength differential between men and women isn't that vast. Women can get very, very strong in the lower body, fairly comparable to men, especially for their weight. Some of them are actually stronger pound for pound in things like squats, deadlifts, anything involving the leg, the glutes, the thighs, the quads, the hams, and all that. Some of them get very, very strong. I mean, you've seen these women's wellness competitors with these super thick, dense lower bodies, giant glutes, giant quads, hams, calves. I've seen videos, some of them are fake weights, but I've seen videos with these wellness competitors, especially pushing crazy weights on things like squats, hack squats, lunging with like 225, all kinds of crazy feats of strength. But upper body, you don't see that. You don't see women, even on steroids, using the same amount of weight that a man can, a guy of the same body weight. Just there's difference in the bones, the muscles, the tendons, everything. Birth certificates. Well, Imane's birth certificate or passport says female, so I'm 100. I would bet you good money that her birth certificate says female as well, because whatever her condition is, it probably wasn't evident for a while. Someone posted, I saw a picture on Facebook of her as a little girl, and she was in a dress, and she just looked like a regular little girl. So she probably didn't start taking on more of a masculine appearance until maybe puberty hit. She's still a young woman. I don't know how old. She's probably like early to mid 20s, I'm guessing. Yeah, the other one, the Italian girl, looks really young. Different federations, different rules. Yeah. That's why the amateur organization banned her last year from the World Championships, and the International Olympic Committee this year didn't see a problem. Bottom line, yeah, man versus woman is unfair. I guess the question is she a man or is she a woman? And how do you determine? determine that. If we're just looking at genitalia, she's a woman. You strip her down, she's got female parts. But if you look at the blood work, she's a man. If you're just looking at the hormone levels, she's got the hormone levels of a male athlete. Built to laugh, welcome. It's a male man. It's been confirmed. Biological man superior in every way, strength-wise. Not even close. All these female competitors are on juice. I know the Italian girl doesn't. Does she look like she's on juice to you? Yeah, I know they're not training. They're not using steroids. Most of these women aren't athletes in general at the Olympic level. They're not using steroids for cosmetic purposes to look big and jack and ripped like physique competitors do, but they're using them clearly as what they're performance enhancing drugs to enhance their athletic performance. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be overly shocked if a lot of these people that don't look remotely like they're on steroids, they have been on them and they just either stop them just in time before the drug testing, or they've got masking agents or something like that. Oh, okay. The wellness chick, you said crumpled dudes. Well, they are crumpled dudes with if you've seen a lot of their training clips, they're very strong on legs. If we're talking about body weight, I mean, off season, these are women. So most of them aren't getting any heavier than, I don't know, let's say 140 to 160 pounds, I would imagine, is like an off season wellness girl weight. Maybe some of the taller ones get heavier than that, but they're squatting and leg pressing and hack squatting and doing lunges with weights that are comparable to a guy of that weight for sure. They're not comparable to like a 220-pound guy, but I've seen these wellness women who are probably all of $140 or $150 handling weights that I don't see too many guys of that body weight that can handle. Is this the last of Olympic boxing? Are they getting rid of it? I've heard, whispers, who knows, that this might be the last Olympics period. I mean, I don't know if that's going to happen. The Olympics is such a strong tradition. It's been around so long. There's so much money behind it, so much hype. I don't see it going away. But if it's gone, if boxing's gone, that would be awful because, that's what a lot of boxers aspire to. Especially, I imagine if they're women, because there's women, female professional athletes don't have a lot of financial opportunities in general. But I don't think the boxers have much. A lot of them would probably just learn grappling and kicking and go into MMA, try to get into UFC, I would imagine. Chromosomes. XY is a man. I've not seen your female parts. I haven't seen him either, but I'm basing this off what I keep reading. I've been reading a lot of posts and watching videos on and off all day. And apparently, biologically, she does appear to be a female. She just has this condition that gives her far more testosterone than these other women she's fighting. Careless about transgender sports and boxing get killed. Yeah, well, she's not trans. They have banned trans women. I have to be very careful with how I phrase these things. Trans women have been banned from a lot of sports now, and rightfully so, especially in a combat sport. There's no place for them in a sport where they could really hurt other women, or they could hurt women. These women who were born males have the potential to seriously harm other women in mixed martial arts and boxing. So I'm all for that, them being banned from that. They have no place there. Especially, can you imagine if you had a wife or a daughter who had to fight, had to box or do a mixed martial arts match against a transgender woman that had been biologically a male and still had that crazy upper body strength? I'd be very upset. They should have a new division, men, women, transgender. Well, Imane wouldn't be Imane. She wouldn't be allowed. I don't know where she would fit in. She's not transgender. She's not. She was born. Her birth certificate, supposedly, I'm taking everyone's word for it, says female. Passport says female. It's only in the hormones. The DNA test where they determine she's got the Y chromosome in addition to the X and her hormone levels. The first last of France is a transgendered woman. What's that mean? Raymond, I love having you here. I just don't know what you're talking about right here. The first last of France is transgender. Ron, you're saying men and women are not equal? No, they're not. All men are not created equal, despite what the Constitution says. We're all born different, Genetically, we're taller, we're shorter, different bone structures, different muscle bellies, different types of tendons, metabolisms. I mean, I remember hearing years ago, Kenyans dominated, they still dominate marathons around the world, Kenyans. And they had something that was unique biologically, genetically to just Kenyans that gave them greater endurance. I can't recall what exactly it was, but it was a real thing. It was just that one nation, Kenya, for some reason. It was a genetic anomaly among Kenyans, but it did give some of them this crazy advantage where they were just mopping the floor with everybody else in these marathons all over the world. He is a man and called himself a man, so he participate in female competition. Well, he wouldn't call himself a man if he was going to participate in female competition. Oh, First Lady. Oh, the First Lady of France is transgender? I don't know. Who is, I don't even know who the president is. That's how bad I am. I mean, our president is Joe Biden. Our vice president is Kamala Harris. I couldn't tell you prime ministers of the UK right now, I'm pretty bad with world politics and leadership and all that. First issue of Trans. Well, I mean, I've read in several reputable places that there are no trans athletes. Let's do a Google on that. Now you got me wondering. Are there any transgender trans athletes in the Olympics? Are there? Okay, so first article that came up. Let's go. Let's get rid of this. Let's see what the story is, because are there any transgender athletes? So the article, something called The Independent from the UK. Are there any transgender athletes competing at the 2024 Olympics? No. Stricter rules. Paris 2024 Olympics has stricter rules and regulations regarding transgender athletes than previous games. Okay, so this is an older article because this is before it all even started. Oh no, it says it was posted 6 hours ago. Oh, it's set to make history as the first gender equal games, with 50% of the medals going to women. There's been rising interest in transgender athletes, with concerns that transgender women have an unfair advantage over fellow competitors, and a number of federations have strict guidelines. What are the rules? The International Olympic Committee, which oversees the games, does not have specific rules or regulations, and instead includes 10 guiding principles. The governing body also states that each international federation is responsible for setting eligibility rules for its sport, including the eligibility criteria to determine qualification for the Olympic Games. The guidelines require transgender women who have transitioned before the age of 12 to be eligible for the women's category to prevent any potential biological advantage from male puberty. What sports have these rules? The guidelines from the IOC have been adopted by World Athletics and FINA, swimming's governing bodies. Cycling follows these guidelines for women's categories, but also allow for an open category, which has replaced the current men's category to allow transgender athletes to compete. World Rowing allows those who transition before puberty to be eligible. And one of their criteria is for the testosterone concentration to be less than 2.5 nanogram as it's NMOL per L for a period of at least 24 months, while rugby has followed the IOC guidelines. Triathlon, tennis, and archery, however, require testosterone levels to be below a certain limit to allow athletes to compete. Other sports allow transgender athletes to compete on a case-by-case basis. There's a picture of Laurel Hubbard, the first openly transgender athlete at the Olympics in Tokyo. So that was a male to female transgender athlete who competed in Olympic weightlifting 4 years ago. Here it is. Laurel Hubbard competed in the Tokyo Olympics, becoming the first openly transgender athlete to do so, and finished last in her competition group. She's not competing in Paris. Nikki Hiltz is transgender non-binary, and uses the pronouns they, them, but has always competed in the female category, and will be representing, I don't know what sport, USA at the upcoming Olympics. They set a U.S. trials record. She's a swimmer. I don't know all these athletes. They set a U.S. trials record in the 1,500 meter to earn a place in the Olympic squad. Quinn, a Canadian non-binary footballer, has also been chosen to represent their nation at the Olympic Games. A midfielder who plays for Toronto has always competed in female categories. There are no trans women competing in Paris 2024. There's Leah Thomas, banned from competing in women's events. That was a big, big story last year. So let's see. These are some athletes that were not allowed. American BMX rider Chelsea Wolfe had been hoping to compete in Paris before the UCI. Cycling's governing body changed its regulations to put an end to her hopes. She had qualified for Tokyo 2020 as an alternate. Halba Diouf's dream was also ended by World Athletics' new regulations, effectively barring the Senegalese-born French sprinter from competing in Paris. Swimmer Leah Thomas became the first transgender athlete to win a U.S. college title in 2022, but lost a legal case against World Aquatics for her right to compete. The American remains barred from competing in the female category. And then they get into the female boxing controversy. This happened today, August 1st. Angela Carini withdrew from her fight with Imane Khelif after the latter landed one significant punch. At the 2023 World Championships, Khelif was disqualified by the International Boxing Association, IBA, for failing a gender eligibility test. Taiwan's double world champion. Is this actually showing? Yeah. Transgender. Sorry. Taiwan's double world champion Lin Yu-ting lost her bronze medal at the same competition after she also failed to meet the gender eligibility criteria. IBA did not specify why the boxers failed their gender eligibility test, but did clarify that neither underwent testosterone examinations. Neither Khelif nor two-time world champion Lin identifies as transgender or intersex. The World Championships were organized by IBA, which is no longer a federation recognized by the International Olympic Committee. The Boxing Commission at the Paris Olympics is being organized by the Paris Boxing Unit, an ad hoc unit established by the IOC's executive board. Medical regulations. That's all they have to say about that. And I think we've covered a lot of this, haven't we, guys? Yeah. So interesting stuff, guys. Where are we at? First Lady. See, transgender making their way into professional sports. No, I mean, well, if you're talking about NFL or baseball, these are men's sports. So women who were biological people, women, gosh, I got to be so careful. Trans men who were born female but have used male hormones to transition into becoming males would not have advantages over men who were born males. So they'd have to be amazing athletes to be able to, I can't imagine any trans men who had been born women being great enough at baseball or especially football, a very, very physical sport where strength, speed are so important. I can't imagine they would be at a disadvantage. They would be not at an advantage. And women, trans men trying to compete against professional male athletes wouldn't go well. France overtaking the U.S. in wokeism. I don't know if that's possible. Strange you never see trans men competing in men's sports. Yeah, I wonder why. Yeah, just Sean, we just talked about this. I didn't even see your comment, but because they'd be at a disadvantage. They would get beaten badly. They wouldn't do well. They wouldn't make it to the professional level at any sport, I don't think. Aaron Jones, so you're voting for Kamala for saying she's now, guys, nope, no politics. It's bad enough we're talking about boxing instead of bodybuilding today. Just Ron saying men and women are not equal physically and not intellectually. Oh yeah, I'm just talking about physically. You know, we're all children of God, and some of you don't believe in God, but I don't believe genetically that any group is intellectually superior, inferior, but physically, people are on this massive genetic spectrum of height, bone structure. You know, athletic ability is a real genetic thing. Some people are just born athletes. They're so good. We've all known, probably some of you out there are fit this description. You have this athletic ability, the eye hand coordination. Some people are very good at just about any sport they try. They were varsity in maybe football, wrestling, basketball, baseball. They've excelled at many different sports that would seem very diverse, but it's because they have this genetic ability. They're born athletes. They have speed, they have coordination, they have power. You know, these are things they were born with. She's not transgender in this case, right? She has a genetic disposition. Yeah, I've said this over and over again. She is not transgender, Imane. She's not a male that transitioned to female. She was born a female. She has a genetic condition that gives her much, much greater testosterone levels than a woman normally would have. She also has that Y chromosome, that the XY chromosome combination that's typically seen in males, where women typically have the double X, XX. Adi, your views on USA performing consistently poorly in all shooting events? Well, just because Americans have a lot of guns doesn't mean they're any good at shooting them. Yeah, we have more guns. This is an actual statistic. Sorry about the sweat. If I put we have central AC, it doesn't really hit this room. If I put the fan on, it's gonna make noise. Private citizens in the United States, if you combine all the guns that are owned by citizens of the United States, they exceed all the guns owned by all the other militaries of every other country outside of the USA. So we do have a lot of guns in the USA, but again, I think most people have, I've got a couple myself. I'm not a great shot. I mean, I have them for home protection. If I ever had to shoot somebody, it would be from across a room at the most. I'm not sharpshooting from a rooftop. There's a whole other ball of wax. So yeah, that's a strange thing. Kamala's saying she's black for a little base boost already. Well, yeah, it's a tough election. I mean, I wish we had some other candidate that was, I don't know, some great candidate that we don't have, but we don't have them. We got two people I really don't want to vote for either one of them, to be honest with you. But find a way to cheat those gender tests. Yeah, I mean, for every test, there's a way to cheat it. Medical term for this condition she has, I call CAP. Let's see. Okay, so I think it was called DDS. Let's see if we can get an actual medical definition. What is DDS? Gender. Is it gender disorder? Let's see. What genetic disorder does Imane Khelif? Yeah, CAP. I'm too old to say CAP. So let's see if we can find a definition here. Doctor explains it. Oh, I typed it into YouTube. I didn't want it in YouTube. I wanted to see an article. My bad, guys. My bad. Let's try that again, guys. What genetic disorder does Imane Khelif have? Did I spell her name right? Yeah. Okay, let's see what we got. Male chromosomes. Italy's Carini. What do you know about Olympic boxing? Is she? Okay, so this is from this will be the last thing. I'll let you guys go after this. Let's go to some science here. Or try to. I call CAP. Don't forget to subscribe, guys. All right, this will be the last thing because we'll look at what actual condition she has. So this is from oneindia.com. Is Imane Khelif biological male? Controversy surges after 42nd. What's the truth? Okay, so let's skip down to, we've already talked about what happened. Gender eligibility controversy. I just want to find out what the heck this DDS is. Oh, they don't even tell you. Oh, damn it. DDS. I saw it was called DDS. Huh. I don't know what it stands for, guys. Now I'm going back. Ooh, I went too far. It's the same damn article over again. Uh-oh. I think I'm gonna get a pop-up ad about it. Yeah, damn it. I don't want to buy a Volvo right now. Damn it. Oh boy. Anyway. Sorry, guys. We're trying to get to the bottom of this. Stop sharing. Yeah. Doctor explains. Imane Khelif. I guess I'll go to the captions. I'll leave the captions on. Let's see. So there's been videos about it. Doctor explains. The captions on? Yeah. This is a video from Brian Sutter, MD. And his whole video goes into it. It's called Doctor. If you want to do a deep dive, Doctor explains Imane Khelif versus Angel Carini Olympic boxing controversy. It's a 9-minute, 15-second video, and he goes into it. He's going to explain it. I just want to go through. He's talking about genetics. Humans have concern. We are first conceived in the womb. We all start off and we have the potential for our sexual organs, our gonads, to be either female or male. The presence of specific genes on the Y chromosome differentiate that down a pathway to become male. So without that Y chromosome turning on the pathway to become male, everybody would go down the female path in terms of their sexual development. So if you have a normal functioning Y chromosome that turns on the pathway to send you down to have male sexual characteristics, male genitalia, etc. That's the basic black and white kind of bread and butter of how things normally go. But as you can imagine, there are a lot of possible errors in not only the genetic composition, but also what happens from the downstream physiology standpoint on that Y chromosome is a specific gene that turns on a lot of the testosterone, the androgen signaling pathways that form the gonads, the external and internal sexual characteristics. So we're talking about the external signs like breast, gonads, etc., versus the internal genetics with these differences or disorders of sexual differentiation, or DSD. That's what it is. Different disorders of sexual disorientation. Genetics are XY, so that Y chromosome is trying to turn on the pathway to fully have those male characteristics, but there's abnormalities that don't give the normal male gonads, male hormone profiles. So what you are left with is a very convoluted, very complicated picture of varying degrees of both physiology from a hormone standpoint to external physical characteristics that are what we see when we look at somebody to make us think male or female in the traditional sense. Oftentimes with these athletes, that results in higher levels of testosterone. That gives them more of this athletic advantage. But because they have any variety of all these different genetic enzymes, testosterone, hormonal dysregulations, and abnormalities, they might not have the exact same external features or what we call phenotype that would make us classically think of somebody as male or female. So you can have these individuals who might look more masculine than a female, but whenever they were born, their external genitalia wasn't clearly male or clearly female. Then you can imagine all the stress and anxiety and everything that comes downstream of that when you don't have clearly male or female features. This is not always a black and white thing. And these DSD syndromes, these disorders, are far more common than you would think. These are not like 1 in a million types of things. And if you think of an athletic population where any sort of physiologic advantage might make you rise to the top, there's actually probably a high number of these individuals that are high-level athletes because they have had that boost in their physiology, but it's no fault to them. I really encourage people to try and be open-minded and learn or read more about this because, again, it is not as simple as saying so-and-so has an X chromosome, so therefore they are male, and there's a lot of potential ambiguity that is no fault to the athlete or that individual. This is a really nice little review paper on PubMed that talks about all these disorders of sexual differentiation. And if we scroll through, I mean, these are all the genes that play a role. This gene is kind of that sex determining part we talked about with the Y chromosome. That's the male regulator, but you can have abnormalities in that. I mean, all these different genetic abnormalities that could result in downstream variation. There's so much gray area in this. And so to simplify the question of this Algerian boxer and say, well, she has a Y chromosome, so therefore she absolutely is male. It is not that simple. It is very, very complicated trying to determine the difference there when you get these DSD individuals. Different sports have different ways of managing this. Track and field has tried to look at some different testosterone levels where you have to be below a certain threshold to compete in certain events that they feel you have a high competitive advantage, but there's no consistency across the sports world in terms of how these athletes are managed and handled when it comes to a sport. Okay, I think that's enough. I think the doctor, so that's Brian Sutterer, MD, his channel. He's got 771,000 subscribers. And this video is called Doctor Explains Imane Khelif versus Angela Carini Olympic Boxing Controversy. So you might want to check that out, guys. Yeah. I think that was all your questions and comments. Years ago, African female track and field athlete came under serious pressure. So yeah, Raymond, DSD, and that video really went into it from an actual doctor who knows what the hell he's talking about, not me. Yeah, I think I recall that track and field athlete getting in trouble. Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate the sub. Guys, I have so much content. Just yesterday and today alone, I did a really good interview with a young guy. Well, he's almost 40, so he's not that young. Tyler Bowman, who was known as Musclehead 320. He was a good friend of the late Boston Lloyd. He was very outrageous, outspoken in his steroid use on Instagram. He was also involved in manufacturing steroids to the point where he got arrested and did 7 years on a 10-year sentence. Recently released, and I got his first interview. It's on this channel. I posted it yesterday, and today, a few hours ago, posted the Tampa Pro preview Power Hour for this week that I did with my good friend Giles Tiger Thomas over in UK. We previewed the Tampa Pro that's happening today, tomorrow, and Saturday. It's a 3-day show down there in Tampa, Florida. You're black. Hopefully, oh boy, not cheap guys. Who do I got for Tampa? Looking at the lineup, I'd go with John De La Rosa. He was 4th place at both the Arnold UK and the Arnold USA this year. Aside from that, maybe Mohamed Foda has a chance to beat him. Mo, the Chicago Pro Champ, is also going to be there. Oh, yeah, Foda or John. If I'm a gambling man, I put it on John. Doing great, Darren, today. Doing great. Thanks for asking. How's your knee? Well, it's actually I tore my quad August 30th of last year. So my knee was never really hurt. It was my quad. I'm back to about 75% size and strength on that leg, about 90% size and strength on the left leg. I walk normally. Don't think I'm going to the Olympia in person unless Jen Gerisi, who's my partner on the channel. She was COO of Advanced Research Media, MD. We worked together on the YouTube channel for MD the 7 years that I was online editor, and we brought the subs, I think, from 100,000 to 335,000 in that time. Anyway, we're working on some sponsorship deals along with Hector Mendoza, photographer, videographer, and if those come, if something like that comes through, I will be at the Olympia. Other than that, I'm not in a position to fund my own trip to the Olympia. The money I make from this channel, from the views right now, is just it's not a lot. It's certainly not enough to cover airfare and hotel to Las Vegas. I'm sure Dan Solomon would be very gracious and give me a nice press pass and all that, but I still would need to get myself there. And right now, I don't see that happening, but things could change. We'll see. Charlie says, I think Foda is a favorite. De La Rosa only if really improved. Yeah, again, guys, please watch the preview. We went really into it. We showed videos from their past, the most recent shows that they've done, went to their Instagrams of all these top guys for very recent updates from like yesterday and today. A lot of good stuff on that. So please check that out. It's on this channel. Pressure on Imane got not so big. She quit fighting at the Olympics. That could be possible. We'll see what happens. The women would have won. No one would have raised the question. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But she didn't. She got hit hard and she quit. Cover Mr. One person would give this channel the boost it really needs. It would give me a great boost. It would be, believe me, I would love to do it. But again, I can't spend, it would realistically be a minimum of a couple $1,000s to make maybe like at the very most like $100 in views. That's real. I'm just being real, guys. Being very transparent with you guys about the financial situation with the channel and everything. Hey, if I had a sponsor, which we're working on to cover the travel expenses, the hotel and all that, now we're talking. And, I've covered the Olympia in person many, many, many times for MD. So it's comes naturally to me. I'm good at contest coverage. I've done it so many times. We'll see what happens. Raymond, thank you. Appreciate you guys. All right. I think that's going to do it, guys. So appreciate you guys watching. Remember, if you like the channel, please subscribe, like, share, ring that bell. And please follow me on Instagram, Ron Harris Muscle. I could always use a couple more followers. Never hurts. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate it very much. It's Thursday. Got a great weekend ahead of you, so enjoy it. I will be doing live updates Saturday at the Temple Pro. Not me there, but Big Mike Cox is going to be on scene. Him and his beautiful wife, Mandy, are going to be there in the VIP section. He's going to have a great vantage point. I'll be talking to him after the men's open judging on Saturday and after the finals to get his point of view, because Mike has the eye, just like Giles and I do. He's been around the sport his whole life, and he calls it like he sees it, and he's gonna give me the honest opinion of what he saw up there. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate it. Check you guys out later. Bye-bye.